This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, where I strategize with business owners on how to grow and scale their businesses to hit their income goals. This is episode 269 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, I am talking with Cristy Stewart-Harfmann from Happy Family Blog about how to get a disabled Instagram account back. Yes, I know that sounds extremely terrifying, but it's an episode that whether this has happened to you or not, you need to take certain steps to make sure that this does not happen to you. Cristy did not do anything wrong. She did not buy followers. She did not put up political comments that had her get shoved off. It was a misunderstanding, more or less, and she had lost an account with almost 70,000 followers on it until she was able to get it back. So you're definitely going to want to listen to this episode. Now, before we jump into the episode, you're going to hear us talk about the importance of putting certain things into effect to make sure that if this were to ever happen to you, that you have something to fall back on. And the number one thing you're going to hear me talk about is growing your email list. So if you haven't already grabbed your email list guide, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram and I will send that directly to you, or you can pop over to the show notes and it is linked there as well. All right, you guys, let's dive in. Hi, Cristy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Jenny. It's so good to see you. I'm so excited to be, I love your podcast. So I'm so excited to be a guest. You are absolutely such a great resource.
You are so sweet. And I am so excited that you reached out to me about this because I feel like this is becoming more and more prevalent when we see disabled Instagram accounts and the reasoning behind it and who to contact and all the things that people have questions about. But before we jump right into that, will you introduce yourself and your business?
Of course. So I'm Cristy Stewart-Harfmann. My blog is Happy Family Blog. And my goal is to help people find the joy in every day. So I do that through recipes, through party setups, not over the top, elaborate, crazy party setups, which I do love, but more like in-home setups that you can do when your kids are at school and they come home. And then family travel. We just got back from a trip to Legoland. I want to show people the fun, easy ways to travel, even if it's for a day or two. It doesn't have to be a 2-week trip to Europe like we used to do before we had children, right? So that is really our goal. So my blog is called Happy Family Blog. I'm Happy Family Blog across all social channels. And it's just been such a joy. I've been a content creator for almost a decade now. And it is every day I pinch myself that this is what I get to do for a living. I basically get to be a mom spreading joy to my family and be able to inspire others to do the same for their families. My daughter is on payroll and showing a 9-year-old little girl that you can run a business with your phone, computer out of your house. I mean, she says she wants to own Disney. So she obviously is thought much bigger than I have. I don't have the heart to tell her that may not happen, but go for it, girl. She wants to work for NASA, not be an astronaut, but work for NASA to get the astronauts up and be the owner of Disney. So, but being able to inspire my daughter to see that you can run a business literally at home and be able to do all these incredible things. It's just been the greatest joy to have this business.
Oh, I love it. So you are the epitome of the vision for my entire business, of why I have the podcast, of why I share as much information educationally as I possibly can, because that's what I want. I want the little girls in all of our lives to be able to know that that's possible. Mm-hmm. So that is absolutely amazing. And I love it. Let's kind of jump into this disabled Instagram account. Tell us the story. You obviously have had your account for some time because you said you were a creator for 12 years. Yep. Tell us what happened.
I feel like I'm in the therapy chair. We're just going to sit down, have a little therapy session. So I woke up last month and first thing I do, right, I roll over, grab my phone, which you're not supposed to do, but I do. Instagram's always the first place I go. So I open up my Instagram account. I realized that it was showing me things that I had seen the night before, because it's the last thing I do before I go to bed. That's a whole nother story. And it didn't, I like tried to scroll, it didn't do. I was like, oh, internet, blah, blah, blah. So then I log into my Facebook account and it said, a pop-up comes and says, we think you're under the age of 13, which, normally when you get carded, you're like, yeah, not if you're getting carded for being under 13. And if you are under 13, you're breaking community standards. I've had a Facebook account for like 15 years, so I'm not sure how the algorithm or bots or whatever decided this did, but they did. So that we can prove that you're actually 41. So I did, and I got my Facebook page back in 4 seconds. And I was like, oh, that was like a little blip, no big deal. My Instagram didn't come right back. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe like different server, or, I tried to think technically, not that I have the technical knowledge to understand how any of this works, but I was like, oh, maybe there's a delay in servers. And my dad was in town. I have to say, if you have never taken a break from social media, I highly recommend it. I don't think I realized how much I grab my phone and just scroll through, especially Instagram. And so the first day, it was actually kind of freeing. And I thought it will be back tomorrow. No biggie. I mean, we are in the middle of Q4, creators' most important quarter, but like, who's gonna know a day off? So about 4 hours into my day off, the email started coming from clients saying, hey, I just saw that you took down our client's post. Like, what's happening? And then I started to panic a little. Like, do I reach out to like all of my clients to tell them the story? I don't want to be an alarmist. So they started to come. One of my clients even said, we thought you quit. I'm like, just like quit, like deleted my account. What? So finally, the next day when it wasn't back up, I was like starting to panic. And I had a campaign due the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? So I went to my trusted resource, my Facebook page. And after trying to find contact information for Facebook and Instagram, there's nothing out there. So I posted and just asked my community, help me. And people came up with such creative ideas and such incredible things. So first one was a telephone number. And I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to talk to someone at Facebook. This is amazing. Yeah, no, you don't get to talk to people at Facebook. So their voicemail basically said, thanks for calling. We're really, really busy. We get lots of calls. You can leave a message, but we probably won't call you back. I'm like, so I left like a sobbing message about how this Instagram account like supports my entire family because my husband is starting a new business and how it's the middle of my busiest season and I need it back. I got no return call. Other people said, get an attorney, write a letter, call this hotline and that. Somebody gave me a link to actually open a support ticket. And I'll send you that link so you can put it in the show notes. And that was like my saving grace that finally allowed me to open up a ticket and actually talk to a human. So it wasn't on the phone at first. I did later talk to a human on the phone, but it was through chat. And I can't even tell you how much better it made me feel that there was somebody who knew that this was happening. So I thought, okay, I've got through to someone. They've responded. They said they'll like review it in 24 to 48 hours. I'll have my account back tomorrow. No big deal. So I get an email. I roll over at 4:00 in the morning and I open my phone up and it says, thanks so much for contacting us. Your account has been disabled for good because we see that you've broken community standards. No details, no nothing. So that's when I was sobbing in my bed and my husband rolled over and was like, what's happening? I was like, it can't be. I post, even one of my girlfriends said like, you post like the most PG content. Like the thought that you broke community standards, like I've never bought followers. Like that's not how I run my business. So they said they've done one manual review of it. They could do a second manual review. So I requested the second manual review. I was able to talk to someone then. And I just said like, please go to my blog, go to my Facebook page. If there is content that is posted on Instagram that does not align, I only post things to promote my blog or other pieces. So like if there's anything on there, will you just tell me? They won't give you any information. Right. So I was like, are you kidding me? So 3.5 days in, I finally get a girl whose name is Christina, which is my proper name. And I thought, this is a sign. Christina's going to do it for me. And she did. But she told me, your account will be back up. It took another 2.5 days to get my account back. And they finally just said like, oh, congrats, your account's back. I was like, are you going to pay for my therapy? What about the years lost in my life? Like, thanks for my account back. But like, what about the money? I had a campaign due on Instagram. And so my client was very kind. I said, I can run it for you on Facebook. And in my head, I said, I'll boost it on Facebook so it gets the same reach that my Instagram would get. Like, are you going to pay me back for the ad that I had to buy to, like, they don't care, nothing. And they were just like, congratulations, it's back. I'm like, ah. So I figured this is a teachable moment, right? I needed to teach myself things that I needed to do to protect myself in the future. And I wanted to share this with other content creators and other users of Instagram and Facebook, because I think we need to remember it is not our property, right? And I know we say it a billion times, and I have always had a blog and I've always believed in a blog for this very reason. They can literally shut you down, take away everything, and you have nothing. Gone, poof, business disappeared. So I feel like there's so many things I wish I had done before that I wanted to share with people to do now, like to create a backup account for yourself. I think when your account is gone, what you realize is, one, it's a showcase of everything that you do in life, right? Like all of my highlights that are saved there, I go back and look at. I have one called like Baby Brother for my little 1-year-old. That's like, I luckily take all of those on my phone first and then upload them into the system, which I know they say you should probably do it live. I don't. But if you are doing them live, download them, have them, because if all that is gone one day, it was really, really heartbreaking for me to think about that being gone. And two, on that backup account, follow some of your greatest supporters. They could be other content creators. They could be your super fans, because they need to connect you back in. There were people who I didn't know their real names, so I couldn't find them. I couldn't remember their handles. I was like trying to find, but I couldn't. So some of these relationships would have been totally gone. And these are people, online friends become real friends when you get to meet them in real life. These are people that I've had a relationship with for a decade, some of them for a couple of months, that we've shared really, really intimate details of our lives, because we're all in the same stage of life. And so having a backup account, which I have now, thank God. But thanks to a friend who finally said, like, if your account doesn't come back, I have a backup account I could give you. It has 8,000 followers. It's not the almost 70 you have, but at least it starts somewhere. So you realize people are so, so generous with their time and talents when you're in the middle of struggle. And I think I should have that first day reached out to the community and said, what do I do? And I could have been more proactive. I just kind of thought, it's going to come back. No big deal, right? Like they can't delete it forever. The other thing I did after my Facebook account came back was to add my husband as an admin on my business page, because I was the only admin. So if my account was gone, my Happy Family blog Facebook page was still there, but nobody was going to be able to post on it because there wasn't an admin. So I think having a backup admin on your accounts is so important. And same, I was just sharing with you before we recorded that my ad account has been hacked. And luckily, because of this, I had added my husband as a backup to that. And then I had connected his ad account to mine so that I could run ads from him as well. I think having all these backups is so important, because literally everything could be just poof, gone, disappeared.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. So talk to me a little bit about that backup account that you created on Instagram. Your Instagram handle for Happy Family Blog is just Happy Family Blog?
Happy Family Blog. Yep.
Okay. So what did you create your Instagram handle as the backup?
So I did it as myself, Cristy-Harfmann. And I did it so that I could follow people and they would know who I was, that it wasn't just, I didn't want, originally I had like _ Happy Family Blog, because I was like, oh, this way when people, and I think that if your account is hacked, what you should do, and what I did do originally, was create an account that was _ Happy Family Blog. And in the bio, I said, my account has been hacked or has been disabled. Please follow me here. Because when people do, one sweet follower said, I thought you died. I even Googled you. I couldn't find you. So if a follower is really trying to find you and they're searching for your business name, they would be able to find you. I changed that to my personal now, because these are people that I want to have a real connection with, and I want them to know who I am, not just my business. And I've gone back and started to follow them. So go through your list, look at who engages with you the most, start to follow them, tell them that you're following them on this account in case anything happens. I have lots of different group chats. Follow the leader of those group chats. Luckily, I knew a lot of my group chat leaders, and I could say, hey, my account's been disabled. Could you add me back to the group chat? I'm on the special eating plan. These women in this eating plan group are so helpful. And I was lost without them. I'm like, what recipes are we doing today? Like you use it not only for just business purposes, but for friendships and relationships and other pieces. So it's so important to follow those like biggest advocates for you, as well as content creators who you love, so that they can connect you back in. I can't even tell you how touched I was with so many of my friends who shared my new account and said, Chrissy's account's been hacked. Come follow her here. Like you need those advocates to help you. And if they can't find you or you can't remember their handles, which happens to me, especially when you're in panic mode, yes. it would have been, and now will be, since I have that account set up.
The question I was going to ask you, because I've had the opposite happen. So I wasn't disabled out of my account. I had someone say they were impersonating me. Yes. They actually used my name. And my profile pictures of my kids were all over the account. Someone else had found it, and alerted me to it. So the question I have, because if you're setting it up as a backup, I also don't want people to think that someone else impersonating.
Right.
So I loved the way that you said to put the description, like, this is my backup account in case anything were to happen. Mm-hmm. Do you use this? Would you recommend, do you think, the same profile picture?
So I use a different profile picture. I think for your exact reason, it's important for them to be differentiated. And I want people, the other recommendation that a friend had who had lost her Facebook account and never got it back was, if you have a picture, if your profile picture is you and your family, make it just you. Because she said, for some reason, she feels that like puts you in some sort of other category. And maybe that's why they thought you were 13, because you had a picture of a child who's under 13 in your profile. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I think it's interesting. So I do have a picture of my family and I for the personal account I created, but for my business account, I have just a picture of me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And that one I say like my personal account, Stewart-Harfmann, it says like, come follow me on my business account. But I think using that bio section is so important. You're right. Because so many people are having that happen to them, especially if they're running giveaways and they're trying to get people's credit card information. It's just, this whole thing really alerted me to, because I Googled, what to do if your phones or your accounts are disabled. And so many people's stories were about like, I got an email. This one girl was like, I got an email on Christmas Eve, and normally I wouldn't have clicked on it, but I did. And it said like, we want to do a collaboration with you. Click here. And as soon as I did, it like brought me to the login screen and I logged in. And like, so I think this was such a good reminder. Facebook and Instagram will never ask for your password. Like if you ever click on something and it says login, abort. If you get an email, and now I do it all the time, if you get an email from someone, click on who the from is and see, does it have weird characters in it? Is there misspellings? I got one the other day that was like badges, blah, 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 blah. And for a second, because of course we all want the check mark, right? For the verification, it was like, oh, we've reviewed your verification. Like you're ready for your blue check mark. Click here. And I was like, it was Thanksgiving Day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my Thanksgiving prayers are answered. And then I thought, wait a second. And I Googled it and it says it's a phishing scam. So I think we need to know that there are lots and lots of people who want access to our accounts because we have great voices and we have great connections and people trust us and they want to take over that. And that is really, really terrible, but that's the truth. And I think I'll share also a name. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but there is one guy who everyone recommended. If your account is hacked, like if someone is holding your account ransom or whatever, he's like the guy to go to. And so I went to him, like 7 different friends said, this is the guy to go to. And I was like, literally every single person recommended the same guy. And I reached out to him. And he couldn't help because I wasn't hacked by someone. No one was like holding me ransom. But a lot of people have shared stories about having to pay in Bitcoin a certain amount of money to get their accounts back. I mean, it's just, it's so upsetting to know that this is our reality of what we're working against. These people are just really, really horrible humans who are here to prey on us.
Yes. And I think that part of this too is that it's not, we kind of said this before we started talking, before we started recording, is it's not just happening to creators anymore. It's happening to your everyday, ordinary people that just use Instagram. So I think that, yes, it's important for us to take safeguards, but it's also important for us to tell the people that we are surrounded by, our family members, especially if they're older and don't totally understand the way that social media works, what not to do, that this is what happens. Because I know for my parents are mid 60s, and yes, they're on social media. Yes, they don't have any mental issues, nothing like that. But they don't totally understand everything. And if we can get pulled into it as creators, people that are savvy, imagine what they can do to someone that's older to be able to get their accounts. And I've heard of people saying that, send money, I'm at the grocery store, can you send money here or here? And they actually think that it is, and really do send that money out, just thinking that it's you in trouble. So I think having those conversations, not only amongst ourselves as creators and business owners, but also with the people that are in our everyday lives, so that they understand that this happens.
I think that's a great point. I know my husband's has a colleague who just sent him an email saying, like, someone's using my number for the text scheme. I don't know if you've heard of this one, where like they text you to say, I'm in a meeting. Can you buy me gift cards? I have to, this is a new number, reply back. And one of my girlfriends who is a content creator fell for it. And she said, I feel so ridiculous that I fell for it. But I just thought my boss really needed something and was like, it literally in a meeting. And so you're right. It's really, really scary. And I think we don't think that it could happen because our minds are not devious like that, right? We're not thinking about how we can take advantage of people. And it's really, really scary to think that there are people out there all the time that are trying to get access, because information is king now, right? Like data is the most important, it's the greatest currency right now. And so being able to share that with people, I just watched the Jen Shaw from Housewives of Salt Lake City special. And it's scary to think like what they do is basically what you're talking about. It's like doing ads on social media for work from home. You click there, you buy this $99 package, and then they sell your information to other telemarketers, and they're, charging your credit card without you knowing. I mean, these really, really innocent people who had businesses and had the desire to start a business get caught up in it. And you can see how it happens because there are legitimate people like you and me that are making money doing this. It's just not easy to figure out how to navigate. And so it's really overwhelming. But I think it's really important also, if you don't have two-factor authentication set up, which I did, to have it set up, because that just makes it one step harder for someone to get into your account. Because once they get into your account, I mean, you're out of luck. And I wish that Facebook would tell me what happened. I shared briefly that a week ago, my ad account was hacked for my Facebook ad account, and they charged $7,500. Luckily, American Express is amazing and was like, you don't normally have $7,500 charges. So I had another credit card on file with a Visa. They are not as good. And they right now are not saying that they're going to refund the money. And that, I mean, people, I don't know if the two have any connection to each other, but that person made themselves an admin on my ad account. And if you're an admin on the account, you can do anything you want, and Facebook doesn't question it. And when I talked to Facebook about it, when I originally found out, their recommendation was that maybe there was like a hacking software on my phone and to delete my entire profile on my phone. Well, I got a brand new phone, and the person was already in. They had already updated their email address to be. So people are there and they want your information, and they know how to get in. It's really, really scary. So having that two-factor authentication, making sure that your email is really secure. Email is so easy to hack into. Once they hack into your email, it's really easy to find your passwords, figure out all of those pieces. And it's hard to get your accounts back. Like I said, they just don't care. And they're still using COVID as the excuse, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry for the delay. Like, because of COVID, we're not fully staffed. I'm like, who doesn't want to work for Facebook? Like, I would go work for Facebook if they hired me. Like, and they don't seem to really understand the full platform or how we use it as creators, which is really, really frustrating.
Right. No, absolutely. So you talked a little bit about two-step verification, and that is, so let's say we don't have that set up and we wanted to go into our Instagram account just to get that set up. That's something we can do underneath settings. Where would we go for that?
Yeah, so it is. It's just underneath settings, and you can pick two-factor authentication to set up. It's supposed to send you a text message every time you log in. I can say from experience, the text message does not always work. So there's also a place, and I wish I could remember exactly where it is, but you could Google it, where they have like 4 different numbers that you can save in your phone or save somewhere that you can use those instead of having it text you. I had a situation where it wasn't texting me anything, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? And so now I have those numbers saved on my phone so that you don't have to get the text message in case like cell phone is down or some reason that you're not getting the text message. But that does it so that anytime you're logging into a new device, it says, here's your code that you need to enter to verify that it's you. And that makes it just one step harder for them to get in and gain access to your account.
Yes. No, absolutely. Do you think there's others? So I love the idea of the backup account, being able to share it. Was there anything else that you felt like, I wish I had done this ahead of time, ways that I could have kind of protected myself beforehand?
Yeah. So no, because I don't know that I did anything wrong. And that's like really upsetting. And I wish that Facebook would tell me exactly what happened so that I could say, this is exactly how to protect yourself. From a business standpoint, one thing that I didn't do well was, we say 7 streams of income, right? So that if anything ever happens, I had sort of like lied to myself a little and said that I had 7 streams of income, but 3 of those streams were connected to Instagram because, I get paid for reels and I get paid for stories and I get paid for feed posts. And so in my head, I counted that as 3 and it's 1. It doesn't count as 3 because if you lose your account, like what's happening? And so I have put so much energy into Instagram. And to be honest, I've been so rewarded from brands, right? Because sometimes they just want an Instagram post. And I think that it's really important as a content creator. Oftentimes, if you're especially like a recipe, right? If you've done the recipe, you have enough information to do a blog post. And so I now will always do a blog post associated with it. So I have that content somewhere else. And then I can optimize it for SEO, drive traffic. Like there are so many other ways to make money. And I have not focused enough on ads and trying to get my traffic up. And so now my focus is a couple of different things. One is all about SEO, right? Because that's something I own, it's mine, and it's something that I can really impact. 2, I had an Amazon account. I had a Like to Know It account, but I wasn't really growing it. So now I'm very focused on growing my Like to Know It account, which is also Happy Family Blog. I post lots of steals and deals, ideas for families. So women's clothes, men's clothes, kids' clothes, toys. And I'm focused on that because I think that's another important revenue stream that doesn't just depend on Instagram. I do post to stories. I created a Happy Family Steals and Deals Instagram account. I created a Happy Family Steals and Deals Facebook account or Facebook group so that I have lots of different places that I can share the message, because otherwise if one thing goes down. So I think being able to cross promote is so important. And then I went back to my email list. I'm embarrassed to say, right? I'm embarrassed to say that I hadn't been emailing. And my first email that I sent out, like 14 people reported me as spam. And I took those 14 very personally because they are not spam. They signed up for my email, but I haven't emailed them in months. They probably thought I was spam. And so being able to have that list and grow that list in next quarter, that's going to be my focus, is how do I get my list to grow? Because those are the people who really I can have a conversation with without having to worry about any of these platforms. And I think that's so important because so often as creators, we get rewarded for where we're spending most of our energy. And I was spending all of my energy in Instagram because I was getting so rewarded by brands. They loved it. They're so excited. My husband somehow has grown his TikTok to 50,000 followers and I have like 100. So I will also next quarter be focused on giving him my TikTok. I keep being like, you just take it, you just run with it. But jumping on these, at first, I think it's so important for us as content creators to stay focused and not to try to like do everything because I think we get overwhelmed. But I think I got a little too narrow. I said when I started, like, I'm going to just focus on Instagram first, and then I'm going to get to SEO, and then I'm going to get to email. Well, I like got to Instagram and was so rewarded. I was like, this is awesome. That I think it's so important not to just be so laser focused on one, because we even have hosted trips planned. And I thought, like, will they still want me if I don't have an Instagram account? And for some of them, the answer may have been no. My Facebook page has like 20,000 followers, which is okay. But those, Facebook numbers are like, they don't mean anything anymore, right?
Yes, the engagement is nowhere near.
It's terrible. So although last week I had like a big uptick in it, I'm not sure if it's just because I've been like posting more. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I'm like, hey, there's like people. It's amazing.
Cool. Yes. No, I'm so glad you said email because I do. I think that, as bloggers, we think, okay, how do we drive traffic? How do we can have that influencer status where we're going to make money from ads, sponsor post, affiliates? And the first thing we think of is to go to social media. And we, like you said, we'll focus on one social media platform until we're ready to jump onto the next one. And everyone gets mad when one decides that it doesn't work the way that it used to. Pinterest, for example. At that.
I'm depressed about Pinterest. Yeah. I can't even right now. I'm like, is that happening to everyone? Like, what in the world?
Oh, yeah. Everyone. But growing that list, because that could be the first place that you're able to say, hey, this is what's happened. Follow my new account that we're going to have over here so that you can continue to grow it. And I think that even when we talk about SEO is so important. And I'm a big proponent of it, but you also have to remember, like, Google can decide that they're going to change the algorithm again. Sure. And what was ranking may not rank again. You're going to have to go back and do the updates. That list, no one can take that from you. Mm-hmm. And they are the people that you want there. So thinking about how you can continue to grow that list and do it right from Instagram, offer an opt-in, give them a guide, something right there up in the description that you can have a link to as your URL that you're going to provide them with. I just think is so important because we talk about you can't build your business on rented property. So let's create a blog. But then everyone's like, well, how do I get traffic there? Well, your list. We want to still use our list.
No, it's so true. And I need to start because I know I'm in a mastermind group and like some of my friends are just killing it every time that they do a blog post and send out their list. I mean, when I have to do a blog post, I have to it's a lot of work, right? To get people there because I'm cross promoting it, not just on my own channels, but on Facebook groups and it would be so nice to know that I could automatically have X, Y, or Z number of hits to it because it can, as you know, this is exhausting. I mean, it's fun and fabulous and people see the glamorous, incredible side. What they don't see is the pure chaos that is my home right now because there's like, this brand here and that brand there and trying to keep up with all of these channels and keep ourselves up to date on everything, keep ourselves secure and it is, it's exhausting and fabulous, but it's a lot.
Yes.
Like you said, it's always changing. You think that you're up on it. And I still say, I have a love-hate with Instagram, even before my account was disabled, because I miss the days when you could just post and put a couple hashtags and most of your followers would see it. Today, I'm depressed to think that these people have opted in, basically. They want to see your content and right. How Instagram can decide just not to show it, and to show it to such a small portion of your followers. It's exhausting.
No, it definitely is. But I do think, taking these safeguards to be able to make sure that your business is safe and then also continuing to make sure that you're growing your list and your blog and doing the other things that are yours that you can own is so important. I truly, truly appreciate you, Cristy, not only for coming on, but for reaching out to me and saying, hey, I really want people to know what's going on with this, how to get their accounts back after they've been disabled. I appreciate you so much. So thank you for taking the time to come on.
Of course. Thank you. You're such an incredible resource to all of us. I feel like I love that you have been there, been a content creator and been in the trenches. So you know exactly what we need. And I love your podcast. So thank you for having me. And I hope that this helps even just one person, because like I said, it was such a lonely feeling at the beginning and I didn't know what to do. I do think though, that even if you have the backup account, you probably have to wait a day or two until you start I waited 5 days and then my account came back that night. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I've just now put all this energy into asking people to follow this new account. And now I've confused them. So I think even if you have the backup account, don't start day one, hopefully you will get it back. You need to give them a couple of days to get their act together. They say they work 24/7. I did get emails at 4:00 in the morning because they have people in different time zones, but don't, that day one, I wouldn't send an email to your list saying follow me here. You may need to give them a little bit of time to figure it out, but hopefully this helps. Cause I have to say that link to be able to actually open up a case has been so helpful. And I've been able to share it with so many people because they don't make it easy to get a hold of them.
Right. And then we're going to make sure that that is linked in the show notes as well. So that everybody that are looking for that resource can make sure that they grab it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was so good to see you.
Of course. Thank you. You too. All right. Well, there you have it. I hope that you take the lessons that were learned from this episode, not only to make sure that you are safeguarded and to know what to do, but also pass on that information to the people in your lives. Because I'm telling you right now, speaking from experience, that it is important that those around you understand the craziness that goes on, because it can very well happen to them. As always, I appreciate you all so much when you leave a rating and review on your favorite podcasting app. It helps me to get great guests like Cristy, who just randomly reached out to me and was like, Jenny, this is important information. I know that your podcast has a lot of listeners. I want to make sure that this gets out to them. It just helps so much when you do that. As a reminder, I want to make sure that you haven't already grabbed your email list guide, that you send me a DM on Instagram at Jenny_Melrose so that I can send that to you, or hop over to the show notes and grab it. Because as you heard, that email list is so important. It is the one thing that you own. Your blog can still get affected by SEO, by Google updates. So having that email list is the most important thing. So if you're not growing it, we need to make sure that you are. All right, you guys, until next time, I will see you all then.